Well, good morning. It is mid-February. It's actually Valentine's Day, so it's completely mid-February. And work has been really hard recently in terms of lots and lots of hours. Started working Sundays as well, so therefore I thought I'd take the day off in lieu. And because May was at work, we couldn't do anything yesterday on her day off because I took her mum to a hospital appointment. Thought I'd go for a bit of a hike and a camp. So straight after work yesterday, I got the bus, train and another bus to a campsite probably about 50 k's away from where we live, and headed towards this campsite. Didn't bring any cooking equipment, just at nearby. Went to a couple of pubs as well. Started reading my book, so I became that old man who sits in the corner of the pub reading a book. But it was quite nice. And I thought I'd just use just under 24 hours to just completely chill out and unwind. So I got back to the tent and it was super cold. It hasn't actually gone above a 1 degree the entire time that I've been here. Slept really well, about 8.5 hours. Lovely sleeping bag, so that was good. And now I'm going to be walking along, mainly along the canal, so no massive hills obviously with the canal. Going to be walking along, and I'm heading from Berkhamsted to Radlett. But I thought, if along the way I think, you know what, I just want to sit down and relax. I was going to say and chill, but it's very cold. If I do just want to sit down, then I can stop at Berkhamsted and get the train from there. Just take it easy, just wanted to be outside enjoying a bit of fresh air and away from my laptop. I did bring one new piece of kit. I've got an AeroPress, so I've got the portable version. So I brought the gas stove as well, and I thought I'd use the AeroPress as I'm going along the path today. No massive time limit. I do need to get home for about 4 o'clock, but I've got loads of time. It's about 8:30 at the moment, but I'm just going to play it by ear really and see how it goes and enjoy the walk. My first random thought for the day, actually that's not true, I've had quite a few so far, but first one to camera, is I wish there was a button on reactor light glasses that you could press to stop them going to sunglasses, because it's quite an overcast day. Yeah, I look like I'm in full sunglasses mode. This is the first bench I've seen for miles, so I'm going to stop here and make a cup of coffee. Make it extra strong. What am I doing? Oh, Bradley. Took them out. There we go. First coffee of the morning. Oh,
That is still.
I'm in Apsley now, and Apsley is famous for having the oldest paper mill, mechanized paper mill, sorry, in the world, which was built in 1803 apparently. The paper mill is actually shut at the moment because they had a fire, so the next best thing I suppose you could do is go to the pub called the Paper Mill here. Which still looks very nice. Just coming into King's Lynn at the moment, along the canal. I've got to say, these downhill walks are really nice. Been walking about 11k now, all gradually downhill. Anyway, coming into King's Langley. I have a story about King's Langley. So when I was at university, I did a 4-year course, and the 3rd year was called a sandwich placement, which was a year out working in industry. And I applied to lots of different jobs, and then I was living at home at the time because I really messed up my A levels and wanted to go to other universities, but when I messed them up, I ended up having to stay at home and go to a local university, or back in those days it was called a Polytechnic, so I went to Hatfield Poly and came to the sandwich placement, and I applied to a few local companies, and then an interview offer came up, and I saw that it was in King's Langley, so I continued for the interview, and then it transpired that it wasn't King's Langley, it was King's Lynn up in Norfolk. So I went along to the interview with not a care in the world. I was thinking, quite liking the cushy role of living at home, mum and dad's cooking, or I should say mum's cooking, and went to the interview super confident because I didn't really care if I got the job or not. We had a group interview or group test thing, and I sailed through that as well. And then afterwards they turned around and said, you're the most confident but not arrogant student that we've ever had to come to an interview. I'm sitting there thinking, that's because I don't mind whether you give me the role or not. Didn't say that, of course. And I ended up getting an offer from them. So for a year I lived in King's Lynn in Norfolk, working for a company called Jaeger that make clothes, and it was such an amazing time. Did some 4GL programming on a platform called Ideal, and learnt loads about work, professionalism, and made a few friends up there as well. Had such a great time. Lived on a council estate for that year. No telephone, internet hadn't even been invented at that time, so it was just such a great changing culture, and had a fantastic year there. So every time I see King's Langley on a map, or any friends and family see King's Langley, they're like, oh, Bradley, is that King's Lynn or King's Langley? Well, I've been walking for 3 hours and 5 minutes along the canal. Unfortunately, I now need to turn off. Morning. I'm in King's Langley, not King's Lynn, and it's been a nice steady downhill, and now I've got 2 kilometers of a steady, not steady, a steep uphill coming up. Wow, walking uphill is a lot harder than walking downhill. Goodness, suddenly I've had to take a few layers off. All my head stuff and my neck tube, they're off. It is hard walking uphill with this kit, isn't it? I'm not quite sure how we did the West Highland Way. Or maybe this is just working off some of the cobwebs from the winter. Eating and drinking a bit too much. I'm very close to a wind turbine, by the way. And I now get why people say they're a bit noisy. There's this constant. And this isn't even a particularly massive one. I don't know if you can see it through the trees. It's just opened up on this side. This is the M25 motorway that goes around London. Lovely view, eh? I prefer this view. Let's talk about food for a second. If I was at home or going into the office, I would definitely have had breakfast, especially in this temperature. And it's midday, so I'd certainly be a bit peckish. I tend to have lunch quite early. But I haven't eaten a thing today. I've had 1 cup of black coffee, and that's it. I wonder what it is. I thought the outdoors is supposed to make you hungrier. Well, that certainly hasn't happened. So I need to check which direction to go. So I thought that the outdoors was and the fresh air was supposed to make you hungrier, give you an appetite. Not at all. Had a nice meal last night, but it wasn't massive. That peak there, is the very highest point of the walk. So although I've still got a couple of other hills, at least I know psychologically that although I'll be walking down a bit, obviously I'm never going to get back up to this height. Having talked about food and how I wasn't hungry, I started getting quite hungry. So I just stopped at a lovely little cafe called the Little Cafe or something like that in Abbots Langley. Had that and a cappuccino. I'm in Leavesden Country Park now. Looks very nice. One of the things I've noticed so far is that you could easily do this route, which I'll try and put in the description. You could easily do this route on a bicycle. I might actually come back during the summer and do that. And just do it as a loop into northwest London. That'd be easily achievable. It's not that hilly. I mentioned before that you could cycle this route, or this literally is a bike route. You could fly along here. I'm in North Watford now. North Watford stroke Bricket Wood maybe. This is a lovely quiet road. I've just been over the M1, walked past the BRE, the Building Research Institute. I mentioned before about cycling this route. If you do decide to do this during the winter, definitely possible, but I've been through some pretty muddy bits just now, which I'm sure by the summer they'll dry out quite a bit. Just be careful in the winter, or just wear, or just use some knobbly tyres. 23 kilometres done, less than 5k to go. I'm in Bricket Wood at the moment. And it's very nice. Mostly blue sky. Still pretty cold. I mean, I've got everything undone at the moment, but as soon as I stop or the wind picks up, really feel it. But it has been lovely. Gradual uphill at the moment, just nicely chilling out. Still hardly anyone around. I see the odd dog walker and that's it. It's quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very interesting seeing that. Oh wow, very nice. Yeah, well at the moment my main focus has to be the next 3 months.
Ooh.
Hours to get there. But
Definitely a horse bride away here. I'm only about a mile away, 1.6k from Radlett station now. One of the things I definitely noticed is it's a lot muddier towards Radlett than it was towards Berkhamsted. So if you are going to cycle this again, then just be aware, and you could probably have a look on Komoot about the path type, because at the moment this is pretty muddy, especially that bit coming up. So we're either going to need off-road tyres around here or wait until the summer. We're into Radlett now, just doing the last few side streets. Made it to Radlett station. 27 kilometres, took 5 hours and 55 minutes. So I set out with a challenge of being able to do a microadventure just by public transport. So I managed to do that. But the other thing that I managed to do along the way is create no litter. There was absolutely no wrappers or anything that I needed to throw away, any rubbish whatsoever. So really proud that you can do that in 2025. Here's the train, gotta get going. See you next time.